Hello everyone. In this video we will build a simple Java Android application with Firebase for authentication. That allows users to create accounts, sign in and sign out of the accounts. We'll also cover how to set up Firebase Authentication in Android. This is the demo of our application that we are going to work in the next few minutes. This is sign up page or registration. Let's try to register by filling an email and password here. Click sign up button. We are successfully logged into the app. Also we can see the email that we use for login. Now let's check in Firebase console. Just click this refresh button. Here we can see that the user data is also saved. Let's try to log out by clicking this log out button. Now we are in the login screen. Let's try login in with credential that we created. We are successfully logged into the app. We also can see the email. Now log out and then let's try to log in with wrong password. We can see a toast message that it is not successful. Next also let's try to register an existing user. We can see a toast message that it is also not successful. The email address already in use. Now, let's register another account and check it in the Firebase console. It's registered successfully. So this is the app that we are going to create in this video. Okay, let's start. First we will create a new Android project. Then select empty view activity. Give a name for our application. We will use Java language and minimum SDK API 26 Oreo. We have to wait until the loading is complete. Okay, the loading is complete. Now let's build this main layout as our registration activity. Let's delete this Hello World text view. Before we continue, we need to add or create several resources, including color values, rounded corner text editing boxes, and icons for editing text. Let's add a new drawable resource. Simply right-click in this drawable folder. Select Drawable Resource File. Fill in the file name. Write or paste this code. You can find the source code link in the description of this video. And at the end of this video I will show you how to download the source code. Next, let's add vector images. In Drawable folder, right-click, select New. And then Vector Asset, select Person Icon. Give it a name. Click Next to save. We need to create one more icon for password text edit. I select this lock icon. So we already have all resources. Next let's create main activity layout. Go to this main activity XML and paste the layout code. In this main activity layout there are to edit texts, a button, and a text view. But there are still errors. You can see these red color. It was a typo, let's fix it. Click this, the resource that we would like to rename. Select Refactor and then click on Rename. Make the necessary changes, then click Refactor. Let's go back to main layout. The previous error is no longer there. Lastly, an error in the card view widget. As we are using constraint layout, we have to create constraint value for this widget. But before we set the constraint, we have to delete this layout margin. We can set the value here, or you can just type the code directly. Next, I will make some adjustments to make it look neater. Okay, main layout is done. Next we will need to add to more layouts and activities. Right-click on App and then select New Activity. Select Empty Activity, as we will use this activity for user login. So let's name it Login Activity. Layout of Login Activity is similar to Main Activity, that we use it for sign-up or registration. So let's go to loginactivity.xml file, then paste the code. We can see that in this Login Activity layout, there are two edit texts, a button, and a text view. This is similar to Main Activity. You can get the source from the link in the description. Next we will create a third layout, the User Activity layout, which we will use for the layout after the user successfully log in. Here I am adding second text view, which will be used to display the user's email. We have completed the 3 layout designs required for this app. Now let's start coding main-activity.java. Here we have to declare the object. As you can see here, we have edit text, button text view, and Firebase Auth. For the red text, we can just click Import Class, or press keyboard Alt and Enter. But for this Firebase Auth, we cannot import the class. We need to set up Firebase Authentication first and add it to the project. But before that, let's try running this application first and then continue. Okay, the app is running successfully. There are still 2 more steps that we will do, namely Firebase Authentication and completing the coding in Java for all the activities we created earlier. In this section, we use this site as a guide. The link is in the description of this video. Here it is stated that there are two options for connecting our Android app to Firebase. In this video, we will use the second option. First, make sure that you're using the latest versions of Android Studio and the Firebase Assistant. In your Android Studio, just do check for updates. If your Android Studio already up to date, then go to Tool menu and then select Firebase. You will see a side pop-up bar. Scroll through and click on Authentication. And then select Authentication using a custom authentication system. Remember, we create this using Java, so make sure the option you're selecting does not use Kotlin. Click this button to connect to Firebase. It will redirect you to your Firebase console. If you have not created an account, make sure you create one. You will likely be signed in, but if not, then please sign in. Click Add Project. When we create a new project, it will suggest a name based on the project name in Android Studio. You can choose to keep it or rename it. I choose to keep it. Here we just simply click on Continue. Select your location and then click Create Project. The project has been created. Click this Connect button to connect Android Studio to Firebase. We are done for this first step. Next, go back to Android Studio. Next, let's add the SDK. Just click this Add the Firebase Authentication SDK button and selecting Accept Changes. We have to wait until this SDK update finish. Once it is done, we will see a prompt on the Assistant toolbar saying the dependencies were set up correctly. Let's go back to the Firebase console and open your newly created project. Click your new created project. Here we select Authentication. Click on the Get Started button. Click on Add New Provider button, then select Email, Password, and enabling it. This will build out email password authentication. Next, we need to obtain SHA-1 hash for signing certificate. Let's go back to Android Studio. Open Gradle. I just click on this Gradle tab. Click on the Gradle icon in the top left corner of the Gradle toolbar. Type Signing Report on the search bar and press Enter. Once the build analyzer results are available, copy the SHA-1 hash. Let's copy this SHA-1 hash. Go back to Firebase console. Click on the project overview, then select Project Settings. If you have more than one app on the project, go to the project overview, then click on App and select which app you want to authenticate. In the project setting page, scroll down. Click on Add Fingerprint. Paste the SHA-1 hash and then select Save. You'll get a prompt saying New Certificate Fingerprints added. Now we can continue working on main activity.java. Let's close this first. Uncomment this Firebase Auth. Now we should be able to import this class. I will copy then paste the next code here. You can get the website address for the source code in the description of this video.
As mentioned earlier, we use this main activity is for user registration, so this Java code deals with user registration or sign up. The onCreate method, a special method in Android activities that gets called when the activity is first created. It sets up the activity's layout, which is defined in the XML file activateMain.xml. Here we initialize as various variables. Firebase is an instance of Firebase Authentication, which the application will use to handle user sign-up. So signup email, signup password, signup, and login redirectix are references to specific UI elements. For the text that are marked red, simply just click it to import class.
This part basically check if the email or password fields are not empty. If both are okay, then it tried to create a new user account using Firebase Authentication. It uses the email and password that the user entered. It also sets up a listener to know when this task is complete. If the user account creation is successful, it starts a new activity called user activity. That typically means the user has successfully signed up and can now use the app. You can refer to the Firebase documentation. As shown, the link is in the description, and this is a click listener for assign in text. Login redirectix. When this text is clicked, it starts a new activity called login activity, which typically means redirecting the user to the login page of the app. Next, open the login activity.java file.
Copy and then paste the code. This code is to declare the variables.
Here let's paste the onCreate method code. This is the onCreate method, which is called when the activity is created. It sets the content view to the layout defined in activity_login.xml, which is typically the login screen. Next, we need to import all missing classes.
Also, we need to initialize the Firebase Auth state listener.
We just need to import the class.
Login activity is complete, looks good. Okay, let's continue with user activity.
If the user is logged in or successful registered, it starts the user activity. User activity layout have to text view. The first is to display welcome text and the second is to display login user's email. There is one button for logout. We are done with the code, so our application is complete. But let's try double checking again before we try to run the application. It looks good. Now it's time for us to try running it. At the end of this video, I will show you how to get the source code for this application. Okay. I will try running this application on an Android phone that is connected to this computer. We can see it above. Let's try to register a user. have seen that the app is fully functional. So in this video, we use Firebase to add user authentication to our Android Java application. We developed an application where users can create accounts, sign up, and sign out. To expand your knowledge of Firebase in Android app development, refer to the Android and Firebase documentation. The link is in the description. Next, I will show you how to download the source code.
To download the source code, go to GitHub. As shown, you can copy the link in the video description. Once you are in the GitHub, click Code and select download.zip. Once the download complete, you will get all the files in the zip format in your download destination, for example, your PC. We can also look at the files one by one and then copy and paste only what is needed.
We have reached the end of this video. Hopefully it is useful. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next video.